Hi all, I'm Deirdre with Second Wind Vintage, and today I'm going to show you how to do a traditional finish for wood using shellac and wax. Now, I would say 9 times out of 10, when I refinish a wood piece, I like to use polyurethane because it's the most durable you can put on there, and it's always good, especially if you're selling your pieces, to beef them up as much as possible. But every once in a while, it's really nice just to do it how they used to do in the olden days, either because your piece is very old and you want to keep it as authentic as possible in your refinishing process, or if it's super hot and humid out and you don't have central air conditioning, because the humidity in the air can really mess with your polyurethane because it takes so long to dry, and shellac dries like that, so you don't have that problem. So those are the two reasons why I would reach for the shellac and the wax finish as opposed to the polyurethane. Special cases, piece by piece, and a weather basis. So what you need to start, we're going to do 2 steps. First step, what you need is you need your shellac. I use the Denatured Bullseye one in a can. It comes in clear, it comes in wax-free, it comes in different degrees of tints like amber, and I think they have a couple darker ones as well. Since this is going to be my finish, I'm not going to be putting anything over it. The wax doesn't bother me, so mine is not the wax-free. And I have stained my piece, so I don't need any extra color oomph. So I have the clear, the wax, just your standard shellac. You can also buy shellac in the flake form and mix it up yourself if you don't use it that often, because it will dry out on you, or if you just want to get real fancy, that's always an option too. But the Denatured Bullseye is a good product. So we have that, and to apply our shellac we need a natural bristle brush. Synthetic, it'll be really streaky, it won't come out the same. The real animal bristles absorb it and distribute it in a much more even fashion. So we want a good quality, so not a chip brush or anything like that. Natural, all natural. Purdy has some good ones, I think. Yeah, that's what this one is. It's a Purdy brush. It's probably about 10 bucks. And it's badger hair. It's very soft. So yeah, so this is all we need for our first step. So what I did to get to this point with my piece already is I sanded it down, 80 grit, 120 grit, finished off with 220, and then I stained it mahogany. It's a mahogany piece. Doesn't have a top coat on it, so it looks a little cloudy and everything like that, but you'll see it'll look nice once we get our top coat on. And then I waited a day. You can wait longer if you want, so it gives it time to dry out instead of sealing in any moisture that might be in there and mess with your finish. So usually next day. Okay, so I'm gonna open my can, and it's very important because shellac is a solution. It's the flakes suspended in denatured alcohol, pretty much. So it's very important to give it a thorough mix every time you use it. Like, I know cans on like polyurethane and stuff like that say it, and you really don't have to do it every single time. You can get away, like if you used it yesterday, with not mixing it. Shellac, you absolutely 100% every time. Even between coats, I would give it a mix, because it will separate out on you. Okay, so I'm just mixing it up. If you're doing it inside, have your windows open, stuff like that. It's not as stinky as oil-based stain or oil-based polyurethane. It kind of smells like a wet white Russian to me. It does have a smell. It's not as bad, but open your windows and stuff. So I have it open. I mixed. Have a nice clean brush. And we want to load the brush as much as possible, but not like overload it. So like I'll dip, and usually I'll press instead of wiping, because I don't want any bits that are going to dry on the lid of my can. But I This is a fresh can. I literally just opened it for the first time. I have no room on the inside to press, so I'm gonna have to wipe. You just kind of go down, and shellac dries super fast, so you want to kind of try and get it in one go, in a line, and work quick and maintain a wet edge. You don't want to glob a lot on. Thinner is better because it will not stay wet long enough to level out on itself. You'll just get like ridges and bumps and blobs, which we will deal with in our second step because nothing is ever 100% perfect. And it dries super fast, so I'm just going to do this one side to show you guys how it looks, and then I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole thing, but by the time I do the entire cabinet, this side will be dry and I can do the second coat on it. The strength from shellac comes in building up multiple thin coats, so you want to do 3. That's usually my magic number. Sometimes a little bit more if I can tell it's looking uneven or something like that. Sometimes 2 is good, but you know, 3 is a good number. Good things comes in 3, right? So yeah, so I generally do 3. Just quick, get it down. Try not to go over what you've done already because it might pull. If you do, it's not the end of the world, don't worry. We're gonna fix our little, any of our little human imperfections after we finish. So you just want to make sure you don't have drips, which is also why you want to do thin. Thinner is better. A bunch of thin coats is stronger. They'll come out smoother. So don't rush it, be patient. So that's one coat, put it down. I'm going to do the rest of the cabinet, and then I'm going to do the 3 coats that I said. Not going to make you watch me do this 3 more times, because that's silly. I think you'll, I know it's pretty easy, you just, and it's on. And then I'm going to let this chill out for a day, because it dries really quick, but then it has to harden for our next step. We want it as hard as possible. So I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to do step 2 tomorrow, which will be buffing out all our mistakes or little oopsies and stuff like that with the wax. So I'm going to get to this and I'll be back. Alright, so I'm coming back a little bit earlier than I said I would because I should probably show you something else. So I did my coats of the shellac on the piece, wound up doing 4. Still looked a little, after 3 I was like, could probably use a little bit more shiny, a little bit more even. No, there's shellac on there, please let's not do this. Anyway, so that's done. I'm gonna let it's dry, but I'm not going to polish it yet because in order to get a really nice polish on it, it needs to be as hard as possible. So we're doing the rest of that tomorrow, but I figured I would show you how to clean your shellac brush. Because shellac is not water-based, you can't just take it to the sink, soap and water, and wash it. It's also not oil-based, so your usual oil-based cleaners, mineral spirits isn't gonna cut it either. So in order to clean this, we need denatured alcohol, because that's what shellac mostly is. It's what the flakes are dissolved in. So we want to completely dissolve. So before we take our brush to the sink, we want to give it a good swish in some denatured alcohol. So I just pour a little bit into a plastic container. I'm not filling it up all the way because I can't reuse what's in here because it's going to have shellac in it. I'm going to have to get rid of it. I don't want to waste it. So just on the bottom, there's about an inch on there, and I'm just mashing my brush around, making sure it's getting totally wet. giving it a good swirl, and you can see it coming off. The water is no longer clear, and now it looks like what's in the shellac tin. I just want to do that for a little bit, make sure I get all my nooks and crannies. Really squish the brush, press the brush, swirl. You know, I mean, you could put a glove on, get your finger in there too, but I figured this works fine. So yeah, and then after I do my little swish, then I take it to the sink and I wash it like I would when I use a normal water-based product, soap, water, and let it dry, and it should be fine. If for any reason you don't get all your shellac off, if you're in the middle of this, something happens, you put your brush down, you come back and it's rock hard, your shellac dries super quick, just give it a good soak overnight in your denatured alcohol, and it'll fix it. It'll dissolve the shellac right off, your brush will be good as new. So don't panic. That's one of the good things about shellac, is it's super easy to clean up and fix because it just dissolves in the denatured alcohol. All right, so I'm gonna go scrub this guy, make sure I get it real clean because it's my favorite brush. And I will be back tomorrow and we're gonna polish this bad boy up. All right, hey, so we're back. It's the next day. This piece has been chilling. The shellac slowly been getting harder and harder. So we are ready for step 2. I just wanted to show you, take out a drawer and show you up close what we're working with so far, because shellac is pretty shiny, so all you're getting is like the highlights on there. But as you can see, really pop the green, it's really nice, rich finish so far, but it's real shiny. If you really like the high gloss finish, and you won the shellac lottery, you don't have any brush strokes, you don't have any dust nibs, you don't have any cat hair that floated your way, and you won, and there's nothing wrong with it, you're done. Walk away, have a cup of tea, you're good. But if you would prefer the finish to not be as shiny, so you like more satin, or you have the inevitable little bubble, little brush stroke, little nib of dust, or a pain in the butt, pet floaty bits, then proceed to what we are about to do. So essentially what we're going to do is we are going to sand out all of our imperfections, and we're going to be placing tiny little micro cuts through sanding into the finish of the shellac, which is going to make it not as shiny, and it's going to turn it from high gloss into a satin finish. The easiest way to do that is with steel wool. Now there are 2 types of steel wool. There's the kind that comes in the bag already bundled in a little thingamabobber, and this is awesome for cleaning. It's awesome for scrubbing hardware, which I guess is cleaning. But this is not what you want to use when you do this. We need a better quality, more tightly woven steel wool. If we use this, you're probably going to get scratches you don't want, and it's going to disintegrate on you, and you're going to get little metal filings and nooks and crannies, and it's just not going to be good. So this is not what we're using. We're going to use this type of steel wool. It comes in a roll instead, and we're going to cut off our pieces as we go. It's just better made. I guess it doesn't do the shedding. There's no oil, like that has like oil in it to help lubricate when you are cleaning. So you want to get steel wool that's in a roll like this and that says oil free. I got this on Amazon. It's been awesome. This is the one I've been using if you want a specific name and stuff. And the wax we are going to be using, full confession, This is the only time I ever use wax on furniture besides gilding wax. So I can't say if the Anne Sloan wax or the Jolie wax or the Bestang wax or whatever will work in this case. I just know that the type of wax that I use for this works. It's called paste wax. This is the one that I use. It comes in a tin. Let me show you what it looks inside. It's a very stiff wax. It's not creamy or very soft, and that's good. We don't really want it very soft because we want it to lubricate our steel wool, so we have like a slip, so it minimizes our scratches that we don't want and keeps them very, very small. So you're gonna get just a knocked back finish from shiny to satin, as opposed to scratch the ever loving bejesus out of your piece. So if you want to try the wax you have that you use on your furniture all the time, do a little test piece. I think that would be worth it to see if that would work, so you're not buying another product if you don't have to, because that's always silly. And if it doesn't work, paste wax. Okay, so I'm gonna cut off a piece. You can cut off a long piece and fold it. I like to work a little piece at a time. It's easier to hold, whatever. And I wear a glove when I do it because I don't want to get wax all over my hands. And also the little metal fibers, if you press really hard, you can get splinters. So glove up of some sort. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn the piece, because we're going to work on the big flat surface so you can see it easier, as opposed to messing about with all these little drawers. So I'm going to turn it. Okay. All right. So the point of the wax is not to wax your piece. We're not waxing it. This is just a means to an end. It's a tool we're using to get the finish we want. It is not the finish that we want. So keep that in mind when we're doing this. So literally, this is all I'm putting on the steel wool, just a little bit, just enough to lubricate, and that's it. So I'm going to start rubbing. I'm going to go with the grain, just in case we get any errant scratches we don't want. It's much harder to see if you go with a grain. If you have a piece that has like a crazy burl figure or flame or whatnot, it's really hard to go with the grain. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine, I promise. But when you can go with the grain, go with the grain. So just kind of just rub, just like you would be sanding. Because essentially that's what we're doing. Steel wool is about the equivalent of like 1,000 grit sandpaper. So I'm just going with the grain. I'm paying attention to how it feels. It feels really, really smooth when I'm doing this. If it starts to feel kind of rough, right now I can probably use a little more. I'm gonna put just a refresher, just that much, that's it, because we're not waxing our piece on there. And as you're doing it, you can see it's going to start to get not as shiny. And it's also going to look cloudy because of the wax we're putting on top. Don't worry about that, because we're going to wipe off all our excess after we do this step. And it's going to get clear and nice and satin finish, and really, it feels really nice. This finish, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like buttery. It's my favorite feeling finish. Maybe I'm a weirdo, so that's another reason why I like to do this instead of the polyurethane. Sometimes it's nice to just have a nice, smooth finish. Okay, and then as you go, it's going to smash your stuff down a little bit. This might start to be white. That's the little bits of shellac that you're sanding off. When it starts doing that, rotate and go to a fresh spot. There you go. And you can see it because it's putting like a little film of wax on there, so it's getting a little cloudy. But if you're having trouble, like my angle's kind of bad. Actually, this one, like if I was doing it in real life, I turn it this way, so I have the light coming this way, and I can easily see what I did, where I'm going, etc. But that would be bad camera work, so I'm making a sacrifice for you guys. So position your piece so you can see it the easiest. Then you can go back over and over. You don't have to go crazy though. Honestly, I'm spending this much time on it because I'm talking to you. But this is pretty much finished. And like I said, the wax, we don't want the wax as our main top coat. So we don't want it to harden. It's done its job. I've smoothed out the finish on this piece. So it's time to get, and now it looks a little cloudy because our wax is hanging out there. So we want to wipe it off. Doesn't matter if you go with the grain or not, circles work real well for getting it off. You'll probably be left with the tiniest microscopic layer of wax on there, and that's totally fine. We just want it to be a nice clear finish. We don't want it to be cloudy. So I'm just wiping it off, getting as much as possible. And I'm doing it section by section like this because I don't want the wax to start drying. Then it's real hard to wipe off because, like I said, we're not putting the wax down and then buffing the wax to a shine. We are using the wax to sand the most smooth we possibly can, and then it can hit the road. That's not the point. Wax is not the point. Driving that home, because usually that's what you're doing. Okay, so this is good. So I will show you, and this is also one of the reasons why I picked this piece, because I can pick it up and move it. See how it's nice and it's smooth. The color is rich. It's totally even, but it's not as shiny as it was before. It's a good satin, and it feels amazing. But you can't feel it. I'm so sorry. So yeah, so I'm just gonna work section by section, buffing it out. Not buffing. We're not buffing. Sorry. Polishing. We are polishing, and then wiping off our excess wax. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So to recap, I like to use this method when the piece is very old, 1800s or so, because it's nice to stay authentic when you're doing a piece like that, or at least the nerd in me thinks so. Or the weather's being a jerk. So it's hot and humid, you don't have central air, or your piece is gigantic, you don't want to bring it in the house, it's in your garage, and it's either too hot or it's below 40 degrees outside. Because shellac's a good versatile finish since it just evaporates, and that's all it does. It has no chemical reaction to it. It doesn't care what temperature it is. It doesn't care how humid it is. It's just going to do its thing, and it'll be fine. So it's a good backup if you want to do it, but it's also a very beautiful, buttery, tactilely wonderful way to do your furniture. So that's it. Have fun. If you do a tester with your Anslem wax, your Jolie wax, or whatever, and it does work out or it doesn't work out, feel free to pop a comment down the bottom, because that would be super helpful. I always like to be really helpful. And I was only half helpful with that one, so if you could help me out, that'd be great. But yeah, so hopefully I inspired you to try. And please let me know how that goes. All right, see ya, have fun.